the Supreme Court, the US Supreme Court today cleared 2008 Mumbai terror attack convict Tahawwur Rana's extradition to India. India has long sought the extradition of Rana, a Canadian national of Pakistani origin, as he's wanted in the 2008 Mumbai terrorist attacks case. Now, this comes weeks after Rana approached the US Supreme Court against his extradition to India after losing the legal battle in lower courts. Now, Rana had last reached out to the US Court of Appeals for the North Circuit in San Francisco after losing the legal battle in lower courts and several federal courts. Now, this was Rana's last legal chance not to be extradited to India. Rana, viewers, faces charges for his role in the 2011 Mumbai attack and is known to be associated with Pakistani-American lashkar-e-taiba terrorist David Coleman Headley, one of the main conspirators of the terror incident that hit India's financial hub in 2008. A total of 166 people, including 6 Americans, were killed in the Mumbai terror attacks, in which 10 Pakistani terrorists laid a more than 60-hour siege, attacking and killing people at iconic and vital locations in Mumbai. Well, let's go across to my colleague Sandeep Unithin, who joins us live on this news broadcast. Sandeep, a very good morning to you. The US Supreme Court has cleared 2008 Mumbai terror attack convict Tahawwur Rana's extradition to India. Do go on and tell us, what does this really mean for India in its long fight in getting perpetrators of 26/11 to justice?
Morning, Neha. This is big news coming in. The fact that the US Supreme Court has rejected Tahawwur Rana's plea against his extradition, which means that this is the last chance that he had, and now he can be extradited to India from the United States, and that could happen sometime this year. Now, the importance of Tahawwur Hussain Rana is that everyone knows that the 26/11 attacks were planned by the Pakistan Army ISI. The front for these attacks, planning these attacks, were the lashkar-e-taiba and David Coleman Headley, who is a Pakistani-American national. And his accomplice in this planning process was Tahawwur Hussain Rana, who is also a Pakistani-American. He had dual citizenship. He is a Canadian and an American. He was formerly in the Pakistan Army as a doctor. He was the one who was actually helping plan and do all the reconnaissance for the attacks for the 26/11 terrorists. In fact, David Headley stayed in India, in Mumbai, doing the reconnaissance for the 26/11 attacks, identifying the locations, the hotels which could be struck by the terrorists on the night of 26/11. Tahawwur Rana also stayed in Mumbai. He came here, he visited. He also surveyed these locations with David Headley, which makes him one of the senior-most planners of the 26/11 attackers. Now, Neha, it's important to understand that so far, it's been more than 15 years since the Mumbai terror attacks of 26/11, 2008. It's in fact going to be 17 years this year. But till today, we have not managed to get any senior top-level planner of these attacks. The Pakistan Army, of course, has done all of this behind the scenes. We have no way of getting to them. We know who did it in the Pakistan military and in the ISI. We unfortunately don't have any means of reaching them or bringing them to justice. The ones that we know who directly planned these attacks are the leaders of the lashkar-e-taiba, for whom we have been trying to get their extradition from Pakistan. That has not worked out. You have David Headley, who was the person on the ground who directly planned, did the recce for these attacks. He has been sentenced to prison in the United States more than 10 years back. In fact, in 2013, David Headley was sentenced to 35 years in prison in the United States, where he's going to remain possibly for the rest of his natural life. Now, Tahawwur Rana, who is David Headley's accomplice, is the senior-most person who we know was involved in these attacks, and therefore his extradition and his return to India to stand trial for his role in causing the deaths of 166 people, including 6 Americans. 6 Americans were also killed in these terror attacks. Bringing Rana to India will help us answer some of those questions that we've had in our minds for 17 years. Who were the planners of 2611 in the Pakistan Army, in the Pakistan ISI? We know the names, but it would be really nice if we could hear it from Tahawwur Rana, who was directly in touch with the Pakistan Army, his accomplices in the Pakistan military, in the deep state of Pakistan, in the ISI. These are the people, Neha, who actually helped fund all of his trips to India, to recce the hotels, to recce the Jewish center that you can see on screen right now, the Taj Mahal hotel where they stayed. They did the recce for all of this. All of the money for this came from the Pakistan ISI. They were in touch with several officials from the Pakistan ISI, from the Pakistan
So,
Army,
so, so,
who
so,
said
Sandeep,
what to do.
I'm sorry to interrupt. So, Sandeep, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that Rana is the direct linking evidence of ISI's involvement in the
Absolutely.
2611
Uh,
case.
Absolutely, Neha. Tahawwur Rana is the person who can link the Pakistan Army ISI to the 2611 attacks. Now, we have heard it from David Headley, the NIA investigators, four of them who traveled, four senior NIA investigators who traveled to the United States to interrogate David Headley, or rather question him, because he was already in the US custody at that time. David Headley has told us in several hours of conversation, he has told the NIA officers in no uncertain terms that it was the Pakistan army that planned, plotted, and executed these attacks. These attacks were only carried out by the Lashkar-e-Taiba. They used Lashkar-e-Taiba foot soldiers. They used Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists to carry out these attacks. But all of these attacks were planned by the Pakistan Army ISI and helped by the Pakistan Navy, which is the naval leg of this operation, which was to infiltrate them through the Indian Navy under the Indian Navy's patrols and finally land them in Mumbai and cause this mayhem. Tahawwur Rana knows the whole story, and therefore his extradition can actually help link the Pakistan army to the 2611 attacks.
Right, Sandeep, also, the fact is that the buck does not stop with Rana. How can India legally pursue the masterminds in the 2611 case with regards to the Pakistani establishment?
Well, it's a process of taking the trial forward, Neha. The fact is that like I said earlier, we've managed to only get hold of the foot soldiers. We have, for instance, the Ajmal Kasab, who was the sole surviving terrorist from the 2611 attacks. He was, of course, uh, captured alive. He's spilled the beans, including his training from the Pakistan military. He was sentenced and he was finally hanged in Yerwada prison in 2012. Now, apart from that, we've just managed to get a few other small fry people who were present there. Zabi, who was extradited from Saudi Arabia, he was another person who of Indian origin who was in the know of things. But they are all literally foot soldiers. They are small fry. They work for the Lashkar-e-Taiba. But here, for the first time, you have someone who's not directly part of the Lashkar-e-Taiba, who is not part of the Pakistan army, but who is somewhat of a go-between, a linkage between these two. So Headley and Tahawwur Rana were two accomplices in this. They were the external factors in this conspiracy. They were the ones who enabled the creation of this reconnaissance mission for David Headley. Let's not forget, it was Tahawwur Rana who helped David Headley set up a fake travel agency in Mumbai. Now, David Headley, whose real name was Dawood Gilani, he's Pakistani of Pakistani origin. Dawood Gilani then goes on to change his name to David Coleman Headley. He took on his mother's maiden name, and of course, his appearance was that of an American. Therefore, he was possibly the ultimate deep cover agent that enabled these attacks to be carried out. He lived as a secret agent in Mumbai for almost 2 years, between 2006 and 2008. He lived as a travel agent for an overseas travel company based in Mumbai. He met a lot of people in Mumbai. He made friends with them. He traveled in and out of Mumbai, and he had a complete idea of the kind of targets that the Lashkar-e-Taiba terrorists were supposed to hit. And his accomplice in this, facilitating all his travels from North America was Tahawwur Rana. And that is why Tahawwur Rana is directly involved in these attacks and could help us shed more light into the 2611 conspiracy. Neha.
Right, Sandeep. So let me ask you this. Should India now approach ICJ when it comes to this issue?
Well, it all depends on what Tahawwur Rana tells us, Neha. And like I said, the court, the case into the 2611, it still remains open as far as the role of the other agencies like the Pakistan military, the ISI, and David Headley and Tahawwur Rana are concerned. So it all depends on what Rana tells us, what his confessions are, what he could possibly highlight as being the roles of the Pakistan military in facilitating and planning these attacks. And based on what he tells us, the new evidence that could come up in a court of law, of course, that would then be further grounds for India to pursue the case of justice for the victims of 2611. The 166 people who died, most of them Mumbaikars who were literally executed in cold blood by these 10 terrorists who came there with nothing but murder on their minds. There was no larger goal that they came for. If you hear the confessions of Ajmal Kasab, the only instruction given to them was to kill, 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 and keep killing till they were killed themselves. This was the one line agenda that they came with. They had to kill as many people as possible and to wound the spirit of India in 2611, which of course they failed to do. And now it is for India to take up the cause of justice for the 166 people who died in 2611. Many brave Mumbaikars, men, women, children, civilians, policemen, military personnel, and of course foreign nationals, including Americans. Here, Neha, I must tell you that when Prime Minister Modi was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, he visited Mumbai 2611, and the statements that he gave outside these attacks were very interesting. He mentioned the fact that this is possibly the first time on Indian soil that foreigners were deliberately targeted. And this was a very astute observation because this was the kind of terror attack that the Pakistanis were planning to discredit India, to discredit India's economy, to attack Mumbai, which was the hub of the Indian economy, to give India a bad name, to say that India was unsafe for foreign investment or for business or for even foreign nationals who are planning to visit as tourists, all of that. So the whole idea, in fact, the whole game, Neha, post-liberalization, all the attacks on Mumbai starting from 1993, the 1993 serial blast in which over 260 Mumbaikars were killed, the 2006 train blast in which 201 Mumbaikars were killed, and finally 2611, 2008, where 166 people were killed. All of these attacks over 15 years were meant to attack India's economy, attack the financial capital of India, that is Mumbai, and to tell people that, look, India was not a safe place to do business because its economic hub, that's Mumbai, was constantly under terror attack. And this is the whole game plan of the Pakistan Army, ISI, from 1993 on, Neha, and what they've used is various cutouts, starting from the Dawood Ibrahim crime syndicate from 93, 2006 it was the so-called Indian Mujahideen, and finally in 2611, 2008 it was the Lashkar-e-Taiba, and of course useful idiots like Tahawwur Rana and David Headley, Neha.
Well, Sandeep, the fact is that it has been a long wait to implicate LET, and we all know Hafiz Saeed is still at large.
Yes, absolutely. And but Neha, Hafiz Saeed, the Zakir Rahman Lakwi, these are just the cutouts. These are just the foot soldiers. They are the muscle, if you could call it. If there is a criminal organization, they have what is called the muscle. They are the foot soldiers. They are the enforcers, the people who provide the hired guns and the hired goons. Tahawwur Rana is possibly part of one of those kind of outsourced criminals who were brought into this crime syndicate. But the masterminds, as I've always said, Neha, is the Pakistan Army's ISI. It's important to understand that these guys, all of them, were just foot soldiers. They might have played a plan, they might have played a role in planning and facilitating an organization, but the fact is, none of this could have happened without the Pakistan Army, ISI being present and facilitating all of this. And there is enough evidence and more to suggest that they had a direct hand in planning and organizing these attacks. The kind of training that these attackers were given, as is well known, is very special. Is very different from the kind of normal kind of attackers training. So all of this builds up into a picture of the collusion and the complicity of the Pakistan deep state in planning, executing, and finally launching these terror attacks against India 17 years ago.
Right. Sandeep, finally, with with the US Supreme Court clearing the way, what happens next? And how soon could Rana be extradited to India? And, what kind of legal proceedings might we see once he's here?
Well, the process has already begun. I'm sure the Indian mission in the United States would have already reached out to the United States legal authority, the US diplomats on their counterparts, and to manage a quick and a speedy return of Tahawwur Rana back to India. And once Rana comes, which could happen in the next couple of months, in fact, if not weeks, because Rana has now exhausted all his options. He's nothing left. The Supreme Court is literally the last court of appeal, unless there is some divine intervention from above, like the president or the Pakistan military or something like that. That cannot be ruled out, Neha. But here, legally, if you look at it, Rana has exhausted all his legal means of recourse. The Supreme Court was literally the last port of call for him. Once that has been exhausted, now it is time for India to start the extradition proceedings to bring him back here to stand trial in Mumbai. And I'm sure the NIA is already seized of this. They've been working at this very quietly for almost 5 years. So it's a big victory for the National Investigation Agency, Neha, because they've pursued the case of extraditing Tahawwur Rana. They've diligently followed up with the U.S. authorities. They have filed all the evidence that was required. They've literally pushed this for the last 4 or 5 years. So it's a big win for the NIA as well. So once Rana comes back to India, he's brought back here as a fugitive to stand trial for the 2611 case. Then the NIA literally takes over and then starts his trial over here. So then you can actually see justice being served on someone who is possibly not the upper tier of the 2611 planners, which I mentioned is the Pakistan military. It is definitely the second tier of masterminds. You couldn't get David Headley, but you have his accomplice, Tahawwur Rana.